Today's video is going to be on the new moon in Sagittarius that happens on November 23rd, 2022, 2:57 p.m. Pacific. How's that for an intro? This isn't going to be a long video, actually. I'm working on some stuff here in the background for you all, but I thought I'd do something here on this lunation that happens on Wednesday Pacific time. I'll point out a couple things in the chart. I'm not going to do anything with all signs on this video, but this is an interesting and I think deserving lunation for all of us. And let's get to the chart. Here you will see, let's see if I can move this thing over here. Can I move it? There it is. New moon, November 23rd. I was correct. I'm starting off hopeful and optimistic. And actually, this is what this lunation and this new moon is about. There's a couple caveats to all this. I'll point those out. So here, the new moon in Sagittarius happens right here at 1 degree. We just came from the Scorpio land where we had Scorpio birthdays. Before that, for about a week and a half, before that, Mercury, as you see here, and Venus were in Scorpio. We had the eclipse in Scorpio the end of October. We had the other eclipse in Taurus, November 8th. We're coming out of this eclipse place. I'll be straight up. I don't think we're out of the eclipse place, but we get a little bit of an oasis with this, with all the Sagittarian energy. And I'm doing this video on Monday, November 21st, about 2:45 Pacific time in the afternoon. And right now, officially, there's a Mercury. You can see here, Mercury and Venus together are in the sky at 9 degrees. This chart is the new moon on Wednesday. So we already have a huge influx of Sagittarian energy. But at this moment when I'm making the video, we are in the balsamic moon phase, and the moon just entered Scorpio. So before we hit this new moon on Wednesday, we do have a balsamic time and kind of an interesting place considering all the Scorpion energy that just happened. And in this way, I look at balsamic, and the way you should look at it is an ending time, and where the dirt is cleared and everything is gone through its phases, through all the moon phases. We are in a metaphorical pause, letting go, do nothing place. It's kind of a quote unquote death place in the sense of just finishing up a cycle, and in the darkest place to get ready. And in this instance, for the new moon that happens on Sagittarius. So I bring that up because the moon is going to cross over the south node in Scorpio before this new moon happens. At the same time, you have Jupiter here, and I'll show you on this particular new moon chart. Here's Jupiter, 28 degrees, and it's making a harmonious trine aspect before this new moon to the sun in Scorpio, 29 degrees. So we have this kind of interesting final balsamic feeling in the moon phase that actually brings some, if used correctly, gets you out of the underworld story and helps you finish that chapter, at least for this part of the story, in a way where the letting go and the stuff that came up during the eclipses that needed to be dealt with in the Scorpio part of your chart can actually have a nice kind of, well, I'm not going to use the word nice. I'll put it as in a clear letting go finally after walking through an underworld story for the last month. This underworld story doesn't really end till next summer with the Scorpio stuff, but I just wanted to preface the video this way. So when we get into Wednesday, all of a sudden the sun and moon are in Sagittarius, and we have this huge breaking out of the Scorpio world, the internalization, the probing that was being done in the Scorpio part of your chart, the having to look within and deal with some hard stuff and having to confront that and look at yourself and let that go. Some of you are still in the process of letting that go. As a matter of fact, my Taurus is Taurus risings, my Scorpio rising. Some of you have gotten a hold of me. This is a process, but you get a break here. And Sagittarius in the end wants to break boundaries, shoot for that distant star, that place where you see something in the distance, and in a sense, I'll keep it simple. You want to know everything about it, and you want to shoot for that star. And that instant, that beginning, that first look has to do with a wish, and a dream in a sense. And the reason why I use these words is because the hope and optimism and expansion, you hear these words about Sagittarius, but we always look to the ruler of a lunation as in new moon or full moon. And in this case, we look at Sagittarius here, and Sagittarius is ruled by the planet Jupiter. So we go look in the chart to the planet Jupiter here. In this case, it's Jupiter in Pisces right now that is in its retrograde cycle. It's hitting a point in the mark at 28 degrees where it was late spring of earlier this year. So you can look to that area in your Pisces part of your chart because there's a recurring theme here. Now, Jupiter rules Sagittarius. Jupiter in Pisces is all about that, in a sense, divinatory area, the place where you can go to within yourself, within the world, whatever container you take to go into this creative, and in the end, a place that deals with, I think, a divine love, which is incredibly beautiful, and it can be. And you just want to be real about it. And I'll finish up the video about reality here because I always like to bring that into my videos. But Jupiter and Pisces ruling all the Sagittarius stuff, there's a wish and hopes and dreams involved in this, and it's optimistic. Honestly, for the most part, this lunation is, and we need this, right? So a lot of the heavy transits that have been going on as of late, you've seen my past videos. If it's your first time here, you can go look upon that stuff. But I'm trying to tell you here that for this week, a little bit, and just for a little bit, you have some breathing room, and you have a space where one can feel like something can be attained, or coming out of the Scorpio realms in that balsamic moon phase that I talked about, where you're like, oh, there's something anew. There's something I can go for here. I something I could shoot for. And you could look to the Sagittarius part of your chart for the more specifics about this. But in general, this Jupiter and Pisces here is ruling all this. Now, by mode here, you know, Pisces is immutable. Sagittarius is mutable. You can see the degrees here, 28. It's really wide. So in a sense, this should be squaring this stuff, and it is, but you take anything you can get these days with the transits. So what I'm telling you is meditate in this new moon. Feel any sense of like positivity that come through, even if it seems like it's a little bit more too elevated because of the Sagittarius stuff. Communicate that stuff to yourself. Communicate it to those that you care about. I'm saying that Mercury communicates. Venus here, relationships. This thing of like, oh, we got to pass this part of this eclipse cycle, and here now we can at least try something new. And in the end, Sagittarius energy is on a quest, and it just depends on the type of quest. Typically, the key words you're going to hear about this is dealing with philosophy and faith and religion. These certain things that we go towards, or that we sit in, that bring deeper thoughts, deeper truth into our worlds. And a lot of times we do this by studying and looking at deeper truths. We go to school, we take workshops, we find a mentor. There's all these ways of doing it. You know, we travel in our world to see things we don't know about, and we take in those things and we incorporate them into our world, into our truth. Some of them you don't, some of them you do. So there's debate of truth. But in a sense, this is very lofty here. And if you take it in a sense of like, I'm looking for something else. I'm looking for something else to bring into my world to elevate my dream and wish. You got it here with this lunation. Now, important thing here. In the background of all this, you can't get away from this, is you have Neptune in Pisces here squaring this Mars in Gemini. This Mars in Gemini, as you well know if you're following astrology these days, is in the current retrograde cycle. It entered Gemini at the end of August. It's not going to leave till spring. It doesn't stop going retrograde until January. Here you have one of the major points in the Mars retrograde story with Neptune squaring Mars in Gemini. Now, we're going to look to the ruler of this Gemini here, and it's Mercury in Sag. So you have Neptune, who throws its fog and illusion over Mars in Gemini, and Mars in Gemini typically wants to push multiple things out and figure out multiple things out in one's brain, start multiple projects, but it's not happening here the way you think it is or want to. As a matter of fact, it gets scattered with Neptune here, squaring Mars. It throws an illusion over there. So too many things are started in the mind, too many facets, too much thinking. What's real? What's not real? What's the truth? And interestingly enough, Mercury in this chart, rules this Mars in Gemini, and we know Mercury in Sagittarius wants to shoot for the highest truth. But it's being a mutable sign. We have Sag mutable, Pisces mutable, Gemini mutable. Too much scatteredness, too much blown out, too many things started at once, and none of it gets finished. None of the thoughts come to their endpoint. Mercury here, in my opinion, it can be this way. So you can have the dream, and I'm trying to stay optimistic about this, but keep it really simple is my advice. Keep things very contained. Keyword contained, and I'll bring that up in a second. I want you to understand there is a lot of confusion going around. We just went through the eclipses and the emotional imprinting and what we're dealing with emotionally. That's not gone away. We get a break here, but you don't want to go too far in the wish. You don't want to go too, and I know I'm being very Saturnian when I say this to you, because I'm saying, like, don't have too much fun. I'm like, okay, have some Sagittarius lofty fun, just a little bit, and let yourself have a little bit of that optimistic something. But be warned that there's a lot of illusion going on here at the same time, with Neptune squaring Mars in Gemini, and Gemini being ruled by Mercury and in a sense connected with Venus here. You go too far with things. Okay, now keep it simple here. We want to look to Saturn and Aquarius here in this chart. Why do I say this? I've been bringing up Saturn for all my videos because it's the go-to place in my mind. It's the place of stability. It's the place I think of has the most sanity going on, even if it's in Aquarius, and they might be a bunch of weirdos. We look at Aquarius as weirdos and this weird hermit freaky person in the lab coming up with some ingenious stuff all the time. It's true. And can you believe that Saturn being at home in Aquarius at this point of the year would be the go-to place they hang out in? Yes, it is. And the reason is because it's an air sign and it's trining this Mars in Gemini. So you could take that scatteredness and actually use Saturn in Aquarius to contain it, to take the multiple things that you're thinking about or running over in your head that actually aren't real, the projections. Is this true? Is that? I just scrolled on damn Twitter. I saw something. Is that true or not? And let me stop right here by saying something. That Twitter thing, in my opinion, needs to die. It needs to go. It's brought so much good, but it's turned into so much toxicity that it's so blown out. And the way people integrate with that platform, social media in general, like, don't even get me started on TikTok, okay? But all of it is. But Twitter's an example right now of a Neptune squaring Mars and Gemini problem, okay? And being completely blown out, let's say, with the loftiness that I'm talking about. Done with my rant. Go to Saturn here. Saturn's going to bring structure to this Mars that's ruled by this Mercury and Sag. You want that. You want the go-to place. You want the pillar to stand upon. You want to use Saturn to contain and crystallize your thoughts. Try to come to one thought. A lot of mutability. 2 thoughts at the most. 2 at the most. 2 projects at the most. 2 stories at the most. Hone it down to 1 if you can. And to sum up this quick way of doing the chart, 1 dream, 1 wish. And you can give yourself that and breathe with it. I brought the couple sides to this. It's a quick one. 2 other things. If you've been following the Chiron and Aries story, which is Chiron's at 12 degrees in Aries, you have coming up here Mercury and Venus that are trining this Chiron and Aries story, and will for the week, to bring some new new something to the healing story and the wound story in the Aries part of your chart. And if you're connected to this Chiron and Aries story, like I've been talking about this year, specifically by degree, or you have Aries planets, you got some Sagittarius stuff that's going to help you out in the next week and a half, 2 weeks with this, and to give you that hope, that optimism, and most of all, to have faith that you can take the next step in your healing journey with Chiron. A lot of the times you're going to see this reflected in other people around you as you've been helping them in their healing journey. That's how it works sometimes. But if you are in that process and you're present with your Chiron story, you do have Mercury, Venus helping you out. The moon will be there after a day on the Thursday to help you out with this Chiron story. I say this because just to not make it all negative with Chiron this year, but it's this ongoing wound in a raw place. And it's, part of these eclipses because it's ruled by Mars ruling the South Node in Aquarius. At this point, Mars ruling Gemini. You can see how this all connects. Last, and this is the biggie, because in the beginning, I said, hey, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Okay? So if I switch the chart here to the, here's 3:02 p.m. Here's 3:02. Jupiter turns direct. So it's been retrograde. And we'll go back to here. I will say this again. November 23rd, Wednesday, 2:57 p.m. Pacific is the new moon, okay? Now, here, November 23rd, 2022, 3:02 p.m., within minutes, Jupiter stops going backwards and it stations direct. So this is connected. Everything I just said, you can place your bets. Let's not use bets. You could place your dream and wish upon this Jupiter, at least for the day, at least I think here, and for the couple days of the new moon cycle, until you bring in Saturn here to corral it, okay? But you can have that, all right, people? You can have it. Jupiter moving direct. It's a station, a moving direct, and here is where the prayer funnels into the dream and wish. And what is the word I always use in my videos? Ritual. Another ritual for you to use. I send my smile, my clean thoughts today. I flow in balsamic areas. I love balsamic, especially Scorpio moon stuff. I like it, actually. My thoughts, my smile, and as always, my heart. For whatever that wish is for you, and for whatever you need to do to walk into a place that's elevated, that gives you that thing of like, I'm going to go for this, or I want this in my life, and I'm going to achieve it. I'm going to shoot for that. Then ask for it this week. You ask the universe, but remember, it's not the universe that you're just asking. You are the universe. You are the gods and goddesses. You are the myth. Doesn't matter which myth. In this intense, historic planet around, you can look to any myth. You are those myths. And in the end, that means when we ask the universe, you're asking yourself. Thanks for watching. If you like what you're hearing, you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. Check out my website, sparklesofgold.com. I also have a podcast. I'm working on a couple cool things here. My Patreon members know one of the things I'm working on here because we talk about it there. And hopefully within the next week, I'm going to surprise you all with a little something, okay? For right now, in the meantime, let the owl guide you. And I'll see you on the next video.